when that bill from the insurance company comes through your mail slot, tripling your rates, that is climate denial coming into your home. When that unwelcome notice of cancellation from your property insurer comes through your mail slot, that is climate denial coming into your home. You have to solve this problem with the cause, and the cause is fossil fuel emissions driving climate change, raising sea levels, causing worse storms, and making insurance so unpredictable that the market goes into distress.
Welcome back. That was Rhode Island Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, chairman of the Senate Budget Committee. Last week, he was here in South Florida to talk about how climate change and sea level rise poses a serious risk not only to our homes, but also to our economy. He actually held a special hearing along with Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz as they heard from scientists and elected officials. But the most powerful testimony came from homeowners who are just trying to survive. Here is what one woman had to say.
We have excellent credit. We always pay our bills on time. We live in a modest home, and we live within our means. We're senior citizens in our 70s and still working, mainly because of the high cost of homeowners insurance in this state. Our young neighbors are in the same situation where they've had to take on second jobs to pay for the ever-increasing homeowners insurance premiums.
This hearing followed our own special edition of Facing South Florida last week, where we examined the politics of climate change and how even though voters say climate change poses a serious threat and they want Congress to do more, Republicans in Congress often vote against climate change legislation. After the hearing, I asked Senator Whitehouse why this issue has become so partisan.
I was in the Senate in 2007 and 2008 and 2009 when it was not a partisan issue, when John McCain took the Republican banner into the presidential election with a very good climate platform. And what happened in January of 2010 was that the Supreme Court let big special interests put unlimited amounts of money into politics. And I think the fossil fuel industry killed bipartisanship, and that's what we're seeing right now. The Republican Party is highly dependent on fossil fuel money.
The issue of again, let me just stay with this for a second, because in essence, you can't really deal with the issue unless you get to the root cause. You can talk about building higher walls, you can raise roads, but unless you start talking about the underlying issue of CO2 emissions or methane emissions, it really doesn't get to the heart of the problem.
Yeah, two things are going on at once. One is there's this set of physical calamities that are happening from sea level rise and storms and all of that, and we have to address that as human beings. We have to adapt to that change in our environment. But we're fools if we aren't looking at what's causing this and putting an end to the fossil fuel emissions that are driving this whole predicament, because it doesn't get better. As you heard the scientists mention here, this just gets worse unless we deal with the cause.
How concerned are you that if Florida is hit with a major storm, citizens ends up becoming bankrupt, for instance, that the federal government won't just end up and taxpayers will end up having to bail Florida out?
That is the concern that has brought this to the attention of the Budget Committee, and there are plausible storm scenarios in Florida that would exceed citizens' ability to pay claims timely.
And what happens now? Where does this go from here? You had this hearing, you've had 20 hearings around the country dealing with issues like this. What happens realistically?
Realistically, a lot depends on what happens in November. If we get people who don't take climate change seriously into office after November, then it's going to continue to get dramatically worse. If we get people who are willing to face this problem squarely, and I would point out that the Vice President in her debate actually mentioned insurance in response to the climate change question. So she clearly gets it, and she clearly hears what's happening in Florida in these insurance markets.
If you'd like to go back and watch our climate change special from last week, you can find it at cbsmiami.com. Well, that's all the time we have. If you have any thoughts or comments, feel free to contact me at jdefede@cbs.com. I do enjoy hearing from you. Thanks again for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day.